We'll call the meeting to order, July 7th. We'll begin. Is there any public audience, Tom?
Not that we received, no.
Okay, so then we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Did anyone have any feedback on the minutes? If not, then they will stand as presented. Mike Glidden, you've got a oral report on the Meadowwood project. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how is everyone? It's been a while since I've seen everyone.
I know.
So Meadowwood, we're just in the final stages. So on July 12th, the Planning Commission will be holding a public hearing for the re-subdivision of the Meadowwood development. The reason why the Planning Commission is having a re-subdivision public hearing is because, obviously, as the subdivision was approved with Meadowwood, there were conservation easements, open areas of open space, etc. What's driving the boat on this application is that the various funding sources are requiring, we got to actually divvy up some of the property based on whether it's DEP, Department of Agriculture, etc.
It makes sense.
Sorry. I'm sorry. What part did you have left off on before I was kicked out?
You said Department of Agriculture, etc.
Okay. So then, in addition to the funding sources, the base that's what the 6 lots are made up of, you have 2 lots, one the 24 acres that the town is receiving, and the other is a building lot off of Holcomb Street, which Griffin Land is already under contract to sell with a budding property owner. So that's scheduled for, I'm sorry, it's July 13th. I said the 12th earlier. That'll be a public hearing at 7 p.m. with the Planning Commission. And then following the 13th, on July 15th, the Board of Selectmen will be also having a public hearing. The intent of that public hearing is regarding the release of the existing conservation easements. These are just being released because, like I said, the final stages with the other DEP financing, Department of Ag, etc.
Keep losing him.
We lost you again, Mike.
So I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I wish I had a valid question to ask, but it wasn't easy for me to hear all that you said, Mike. I understood, just be sure that I understood correctly. There's a public hearing at the Board of Selectmen's meeting on the 15th of July.
Yes, there will be a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen on the 15th.
Now, for what purpose? I didn't quite catch what you said.
So that will be the Board of Selectmen under state statute. When the town releases open space or conservation easements, they have to hold a public hearing, the legislative body. So what the intent of it is just releasing the conservation easements which were specific to the Meadowwood subdivision application. And they would be replaced with the new conservation easements associated with the DEP or Department of Agriculture financing. So in the end, it's still a conservation goal or a conservation outcome that's going to be achieved. It's just some procedural hearings that the town has to go through in order to finalize the deal for the Meadowwood purchase.
Thank you for repeating that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't want to minimize the importance of these steps because they absolutely have to happen, but we don't anticipate, any significant public comment because these are just procedural steps that need to occur in order for us to close on time. Were there any other questions on Meadowwood or in general? Right. Mike, thanks for that update.
Okay.
The next item is looking at some small proposed changes to the natural area stewardship policy. And if we are in agreement with these changes, we would be sent to the Board of Selectmen for approval. I didn't know, Tom or Mike, who would talk to these, but basically it would be adding Meadowood explicitly to the policy as an area that would fall under it.
Sorry, I'll be replacement Tom right now. Yeah, that's really the substance of the change on this one. Since we're going to take Meadowood in, Meadowood be added to the list. And I think there was a correction on Wagner Meadow.
Correct. That was
we deleted
struck.
that term. So,
was there any feedback on these changes? Susan.
Sorry, I had a question. So the 140 acres of Meadowood, that's the current kind of natural area that's that corridor, correct? It's not the grassland, farmland area.
correct. That'll be the area that's subject to the DEP funding, not the Department of Agriculture, which is to the southeast of the development closer to County Road.
Okay, so my other question about that, is there DEP funding that's specific to grassland birds, or is it just for open space, kind of natural land in general? Because if it's specific to grassland birds, that part should be kind of scoped out to make sure. I mean, the thing is, we can always put it under this and then pull it out if there's a specific bird issue. So I mostly wanted to make sure that it wasn't conflicting with some other intended use of that piece of the property.
No, the funding was just specific to open space. It wasn't specific to grassland bird preservation, just open space.
Any other questions or concerns? Mike, would a motion be good here?
Yeah, it would be a motion then to forward this to the Board of Selectmen for their, I think we're putting on for either the August 9th meeting.
Okay. Is there a motion to forward the proposed changes to the natural area stewardship policy as presented to the Board of Selectmen?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Susan, any other conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. I'm wondering if, Susan, would you like me to see if the group would be amenable to adding an item to the agenda?
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Would there be a motion to add a discussion item to the agenda? Just trying to think about how to frame this. Related to potential logging by DEP in the Great Pond area.
Could you give me some information? I was not aware that that was happening.
Yeah, so I'm just decided, I just wanted to amend the agenda so we can talk about it. And then Susan will elaborate.
All right, I propose we amend the agenda.
Is there a second, Susan? Anybody? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I'll start out. The town got a letter from DEP a number of weeks ago about their intention to do a few things in the Great Pond area. One is to remove some trees or logs that were already down. Another is to take down some trees that they had deemed to be not healthy. And then the third component was logging an area that was about 1.2 acres of white pine. That particular area has under the deed, the intention is for logging, so it's not inconsistent with that use. But, based on previous conversations earlier this year with DEP, we know that our community has been concerned about the unnecessary cutting down of trees. So that's why we wanted to have this conversation. There's going to be a public information session, I believe on July 15th. But Susan, let me turn it over to you because you had asked that we add this to the agenda.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Eric, and I apologize in advance if there's any background noise. But I was thinking just about sending a simple note to DEP from this commission, since we are the commission that's tasked with stewardship of our land, and we've been trying to be really thoughtful about that, like what areas we're kind of stewarding in different kinds of ways. And I'm aware that the history of this forest is it's kind of an experimental forestry kind of forest. But I was thinking we could just send a simple letter from this commission saying, we're aware that this is happening. We're the commission in town that's, in charge of this. We want to keep in touch with you. We've been thinking about our own town land, and we developed this natural area stewardship policy. And because this is such a big block that connects to other blocks, one of the things that is increasingly important is keeping areas intact and keeping them connected. So I'm hoping that they would consider within this experimental forest, at least keeping some intact connected areas. So I drafted just like a few sentences. And if you want, I can share that and people can see if they feel, comfortable with it or want to add to it or edit it or whatever. So that was the core of what I wanted to discuss today. Short discussion.
Are you able to share your screen, Susan?
No. But Tom could maybe magically make that happen.
Now you can.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
We also understand that folks are still learning about this. So I think if we could certainly, approve this letter now, or we could do it at our next meeting, which would be just a couple of weeks after the information session.
Okay. Can you see my screen now? I had a problem finding my document. Okay.
Right.
So I guess no one's on the phone, so everyone should be able to see it, but I could just read it to DEP Forestry. We were informed recently that additional forestry work is planned in the Great Pond block of Misako State Forest and that a public meeting is intended on site. We write as the Open Space Committee of the town of Simsbury, the entity charged with stewardship of town-owned open space. Our membership includes the first selectman, chairs of planning, zoning, conservation, culture, parks, and recreation, or their designee, and 3 at-large members. We recently adopted natural area stewardship for several town forests. See attached. Our policy does not ban anything. It applies a fiscally responsible, science-based, common sense approach to our natural areas. We hope you will apply this type of policy to a specific and suitable subset of the Great Pond block, at least as control areas for DEP's forestry experiments. We'd be happy to work with you on this. Respectfully submitted.
What are thoughts? Thanks for drafting that, Susan.
It would be nice to be included I know that it's the forestry, they have a forestry plan for that area. I think the oaks and all were hit by gypsy moths, from my understanding. But I agree with Susan, it would be nice to be able to have a discussion on some of these blocks.
I mean, I'm not sure that this will change anything that's happening, but I do think that we should be good to keep in touch, because one of the things that we've been trying to think about on town land is what's going on next door. What are the risks of spreading invasives if we do things? What's the impacts on adjacent land? And those are all, really important discussions to have.
I have a question. Is the state required to inform a local community about the work about to happen? Let's say the scope and when it's about to take place, or any explanation thereof. Does anyone know?
I don't know if that's something Mike is able to answer.
Yeah, so they provide a notification to the town, which in this case they did provide a notification to us that the work was coming. The scope, I mean, that normally they try to give us a good understanding of the scope, but because the state is really exempt from local regulations, they don't have to tell us everything. But in my experiences dealing with DEEP, they usually try to give us a good picture of what's going on out there. Phone calls first, although they may be exempt from our regs, people are going to call the town first to say what's going on. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And I just think this would help to keep everybody a little bit more in the loop, because people, like Mike said, people typically call the town about this kind of stuff. And so the more informed everyone is, probably the better. In terms of the gypsy moth thing, just to follow up on that, Marjorie, I don't know if the trees are actually dead. Trees can just typically survive gypsy moth for a few years. And dead trees provide great habitat, so I'm not sure why they're taking them down necessarily. Maybe they just want to grow different trees there or something, but anyway.
That's why it'd be nice to have a conversation to explain better what they're doing, so that we can explain better to the public.
Yeah.
And I think, the gypsy moths were harsh last year because of the drought, but, the trees were also stressed by the drought. They should have leafed out this year if they would survive, so I would imagine they have a handle on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They did. They wrote us the letter. There was a site visit between DEEP and some members of staff, and then there's going to be a public information session at the site on July 15th. So they're doing steps to help inform people what's going on. But I wanted to I think in particular asking Helen and Marjorie what your comfort level would be to approve a letter like this right now, based on what you know.
Well, I think it's just really us saying that we'd like, to be involved in the conversation. Oh, there's a big thunderstorm. I'm comfortable with the letter, but again, I don't know that, they have to do much more than what they're doing.
No, agreed. Helen, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. So is there a motion effective July 7th, 2021 to endorse this letter on behalf of the Open Space Committee and send to Deep Forestry?
So moved.
All right, I'll second.
Any further conversation? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, Susan, for drafting that. The final item on the agenda is a discussion around meeting format. And I can briefly share what the options are. I didn't know if Mike or Tom were prepared to share anything else, but going forward, we have several options. We can continue to meet virtually like this. We could meet in person, or we could meet in a hybrid format. And the town has invested in this technology known as an OWL, which basically it turns to whoever happens to be speaking. And I felt it was pretty darn effective in helping us facilitate a hybrid meeting where you have some people virtual, some people in person. I really felt like everyone was able to follow along and participate. So I just wanted to open up for discussion and see your thoughts on what format we think would work best for this group.
I'm not sure I caught everything you said, Eric, but I'm ready to be there in person. That would facilitate me.
Yeah, I know that would be better. Is there still an interest in some people meeting remotely, which is completely okay?
If you can do a hybrid, that makes it accessible to all.
Yeah, that sounds like where we're going to land. Tom or Mike, any concern about being able to facilitate hybrid meetings going forward for this group?
No, it's something we can accommodate. We'll start planning on our end about like location space for the people that are in person. And like you said, with the OWL technology, working on that as well.
Okay. Helen, I'll just repeat what Tom said. He said that he doesn't think there'll be a problem to accommodate the hybrid meeting. So they'll do some work on determining the best location. And hopefully for our next meeting, we can see some of you in person.
Well, it would facilitate me either way, really, because I mean, when I'm not there, I'm able to participate. But when I'm there, but I would really like, I'm ready to be there in the flesh.
Right. Now it's really
Okay.
neat because there's a big screen there, so anyone who is remote, you're able to clearly see who they are. It worked really well. All right.
I apologize for distraction. It's really bad weather out here right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we're getting some storms.
Okay.
So anything else before we adjourn?
Just a quick question. I'm just curious about the 18-acre parcel that was by the river that was brought up last meeting, I think it was. Does anybody have any information on it as to? It was in the minutes. It was in the minutes. But in the minutes, it said that someone, staff perhaps, was going to try to get some information for us. And I was wondering if that happened yet.
Is this the 34, the acreage near 34 Hot Meadow Street in the south end of town?
I don't have the capability to pull up my minutes on the screen right now, but it was in the minutes about the 18-acre parcel by the river. That's all it says.
And I don't know if Tom can speak, but he's writing in the comments it was open to development already.
Yeah, because if that's the parcel, it would be just to the south of the Chubb Insurance driveway. That is actually part of a master plan development for the redevelopment of 34 Hot Meadow Street. There's supposed to be commercial development there, and there's a storage facility that's been approved to the eastern portion of the property. So yeah, and it's the owner is looking to develop that property. There's little environmental value there. There's no environmentally sensitive receptors within the meets and bounds of that property.
I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood with the location. So you're telling me it's by the North 40, right? Or no?
Chubb Insurance. It's just to the south of Chubb Insurance driveway. If that's what it is, off of Hop Meadow Street.
Which insurance?
Chubb Insurance campus is in the rear.
Got it.
In the south end of town, opposite of it's east of the intersection of Old Meadow Plain and Hot Meadow Street.
Thank you. Now I know. I was thinking of an entirely different area, and now I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, because if that's the parcel in question, it was approved. But there's a master plan that calls for the development of that parcel.
Okay.
So,
Susan.
No more apartments, right?
Commercial.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think Kelly brought this up at the last meeting because we were talking about farmland. And I'm sure that does qualify as prime farmland. And I think that's probably why he brought it up. So even though it doesn't have any environmentally sensitive characteristics, it is prime farmland. I'm not saying that we're changing the fate of that piece of property. I'm just explaining the context of why Kelly, I think, brought it up. And, prime farmland is not considered an environmentally sensitive characteristic, unfortunately, but.
All right.